Welcome to the Oddsbreakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 39 of 2024. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at The Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media / The Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by BetMGM. For an up to $1,500 sign-up bonus, please visit this podcast description. Click on the link. Terms, conditions, and location apply. If you'd like to support the Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. Pick any for winning cappers. Get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on Patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. Football never stops here at the Oddsbreakers, and it is Memorial Weekend coming up. What's nice is that I don't have to deal with the UFC, and I might be able to actually go on vacation, which would be nice. A little trip to Flagstaff is what we're planning. My son's baseball is kind of getting in the way of that because they just keep winning, So out of about 12 teams, there's 3 left, and they're one of them in the playoffs. They have to play on Thursday, but unfortunately, when it comes to Little League around here, they have to go all the way to Saturday night to play if they're going to win the championship. So they could seriously change my plans going on for this weekend. But hey, we have a lot going on here at the Oddsbreakers. We're still capping baseball every single day. We're still capping the NBA. Next weekend, we will have some UFC and a big event when it comes to Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev. So next week, we're going to have a great guest for that. But like I said earlier, it is always football here going on at the Oddsbreakers. And I am going to talk about the NFC North and give you my preview and thoughts for the 2024 season for this division. Before I get into the NFC North, though, I'm going to talk a little bit about some Warren Sharp stuff. And Warren Sharp has been doing football for a long time now, and I love some of his preseason analysis on schedules. I like how he does strength of schedule from a Vegas win total perspective. I think that's important. And I like how he does his 2024 NFL rest edges. He has them on his Twitter. If you would like to reference at Sharp Football. So I just want to make sure you know where to find some of this information yourself when you're capping the 2024 season. I'm going to cover kind of the outliers when it comes to this as of right now. So I'm going to go with strength of schedule first, and I agree the way he does it. He goes by forecasted win totals, meaning if you're a team, you take all of your opponents and add up their win totals. If their win totals are very high, then you're playing a very hard schedule. If the win totals are very low, then it looks like you're probably playing an easy schedule. And the reason you do that is because it's hard to account for injuries from last year. A lot of teams that beat the Bengals beat them because Joe Burrow was out. Does that mean you should be rewarded that somebody's playing the Bengals this year, that they're an easy team? No, absolutely not. And the same thing can go for a lot of teams that experienced some pretty bad injuries. The Colts had a quarterback out. The Chargers situation was certainly a heck of a lot different last year than it is this year with injuries and obviously a new coach. So this is why projecting strength of schedule is much more accurate if you do it on either your power ratings. You can also add up the power ratings of the team that they're facing, or the Vegas win totals, which is more of a market perspective. So let's start out with the outliers. Let's go for easy. Now, the Falcons have the easiest schedule, and it's a pretty big difference between them and the Colts. And I actually had to look for it myself. Now, they got a lot of, let's just say, hate for what they did in the draft by drafting Michael Penix, but this easy schedule might be able to get them through some of those issues. I mean, let's just start with the fact that they get to play the Panthers twice. I mean, that's pretty nice, right? And they're also in the NFC South, which is looked at as the weakest division in football. So they got to play Tampa twice, and they get to play the New Orleans Saints twice, as well as Carolina. So you're pretty happy about that. The next thing is that, yes, they do have the AFC West, but the AFC West isn't nearly as hard as it was. Now, I suppose the Los Angeles Chargers should be better, but they still didn't win a lot of games last year, and they still get to play the Raiders and the Broncos, right? The Chiefs are tough, but they get the Raiders and the Broncos. They also get the NFC East, where it's very top-heavy with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, but geez, look at the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. Those are some pretty bad teams, right? And they also get a pretty good at-large situation where they get to play Seattle, right? Seattle wasn't that good of a team. They're also going through a new coach with themselves, and they get to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have new quarterbacks, and their expectations are kind of brutal because they have one of the hardest schedules, and we'll get to that. So, yeah, I mean, looking at this schedule, it really lines up pretty nicely for the Atlanta Falcons, at least when they get to Game 4, because they get Pittsburgh at home. That should be a little dicey because Arthur Smith went to Pittsburgh. We'll see. But then they go to at Philly. Then they go home against Kansas City. I'm thinking they're going to be 1-2, but then they got the Saints at home. Then they got that Tampa Bay at home. Then at Carolina. Then Seattle at home. At Tampa. Then Dallas at home, maybe a loss. Then at New Orleans is possible. At Denver's a possible win. Versus the Chargers, possible win. At Minnesota, probably a win. At the Raiders, probably a win. Then versus the Giants, at Washington, and then versus Carolina again at the end. That Carolina game might propel them into the playoffs. So congrats on a very easy schedule. Not going to go into this much detail, but I just wanted to point that out, how easy it was looking for the Falcons. The next is the Colts. Third is the Chiefs, believe it or not. How the heck is a Super Bowl champion that gets a first place schedule getting the third easiest schedule for the year? I find that fascinating. And it's just because, like I said, Denver and the Raiders, and we'll see what the Chargers are the first year with Harbaugh. But man, what a great situation to be a Chiefs fan. The Bears are next because the Bears had a fourth place schedule themselves this year, so they'll get some easy situations throughout their schedule. And the fifth is the Saints, being in the AFC South, and then the Chargers is number 6. So those are the easiest based on Vegas win totals. The hardest are definitely got to start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And holy cow, did this team, it feels like they got screwed, especially how they end the season, you know? They end the season. Just listen to this gauntlet after their Washington game on November 11th. That's week 10. There's no more buys. They get their bye week on week 9. Then they got Baltimore, then at Cleveland, then at Cincinnati, then versus Cleveland at home, right? All very good teams. Then at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, versus the Chiefs, then versus the Bengals. What a gauntlet of a schedule there at the end. And, you know, it's not like it's that easy in the beginning because at Atlanta, like I said earlier, is a little dicey. At Denver, you should win that one. Then versus the Chargers. At the Colts is a little hard. Then versus Dallas. At the Raiders, I would have much rather had the Raiders at home so I can guarantee a win there. Then versus the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. Then versus the Giants should be a win. But then now all of a sudden we're to week 10. You know, you better be having a positive record after the first 8 games there. You better be at least 4-4. No, I would say even at least 5-3 or 6-2 if you want a shot at making the playoffs. Because if you're 4-4 or worse, you are completely screwed when it comes to this last half of the schedule after the bye week. So poor Steelers are in a tough situation. Then the next one is the Browns being in the NFC or AFC North. The AFC North is looked at as probably the best division in football. Then the Patriots are next because, well, the Patriots stink and they're playing all the harder teams. The AFC East should be pretty tough with the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Buffalo on top. And then you have the Texans, who earned a first place schedule by winning it last year in their division. And then the Broncos obviously having to play tougher teams. And then the Seahawks. So that's how the top hardest teams look as far as a Vegas win total perspective.
Unreal.
Now moving on to the other side of work that I like from Warren Sharp when it comes to scheduling is their 2024 NFL rest edges. What Warren Sharp does is look where the edges are. For example, if you play Monday Night Football and then you play Sunday, obviously the next week, and the team that you're playing went Sunday to Sunday and not Monday to Sunday, you are at -1. If it's a Thursday game and they get 10 days rest, you get 7, it's -3 or +3 on the other side. But what Warren does is aggregate all these together and add it up and find the actual net days rest edge. And I like that. So I'm going to go over the top 5 for the easiest. Baltimore is number 1 at +16 rest advantage. It looks like when they play somebody coming off, they don't play anybody coming off a bye, actually. So that's great for their situation. Just happened that nobody's coming off a bye when they're playing Baltimore. How nice is that? Same thing with New England, who's at +12. So at least the hard schedule for the Patriots gets some rest. The Vikings are also at +12. The Eagles are also at +12. And the Green Bay Packers are at +8. So those are the outliers for the rest advantage. When it comes to the bad spot, the Niners all the way down to -21. They play 3 teams off bye weeks, and they also play 3 teams off Thursday Night Football. So what a brutal situation for San Fran. Denver in a situation at -17 days rest. They unfortunately play a team off the bye, but they also don't get a bye. So the way I look at it is they don't get a rest bye, I should say. When they play their team off the bye, the team that they're playing is also coming off of a bye. So that's why they're -17. And the same thing for the Colts, same situation. They're also -17 days rest. The next is the Seattle Seahawks at -13 days rest. Then the LA Chargers at -10 days rest. The Saints are at -10. If you're worrying about the Steelers because of their hard day, they're in the middle at +2. So no real rest advantage or disadvantage for the Steelers, even though they have that brutal backloaded schedule for 2024. So there you have it. San Fran, Denver, Indy, Seattle, Chargers, and the Saints are all in the double-digit negatives for rest edge for the season. So think about this stuff when you're looking at your win totals. Obviously, we already do as handicappers from a week-to-week basis. All right. Well, now it's time to get into our first division preview of the summer. And I always start with the NFC North because I'm a Bears fan. And I always like to get ahead of the NFC North, being that's probably the one that I concentrate on is the most during the football season. So here's what I wrote about the NFC North betting preview, season win totals. And this article is going to come out probably this weekend, or maybe I'll even save it for next Tuesday, coming off Memorial Day. But obviously you'll get this podcast Thursday morning. Last year, the NFC North was supposed to be one of the worst divisions in football, but man, that assessment was completely incorrect. This division pumped out 2 playoff teams, the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, and both of these teams had the Niners on the ropes and kind of choked it away at the end. Even the Bears finished out with 7 wins last year. The Vikings had bad luck losing Kirk Cousins midseason and still was able to pull it out, 7 wins. For this year, the Packers and the Lions are both favored to repeat into the playoffs. Most analysts look at the division now as quite strong, second highest in football, as mentioned before. Every team looks like they had improved minus the Vikings. I suppose it depends what you're looking at. The Vikings at the end of the season worth Kirk Cousins, maybe they did improve from that. But the NFC North plays the AFC South, which is okay. I mean, you still got the Titans there. Colts are still kind of unproven. The Jaguars really slid back last year, but you have a strong Houston team there. But they also play the NFC West, which is pretty rough, but I would say pretty good looking at the bottom two teams when you're looking at the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. So looking at the futures and how this division shapes up, they predict the Lions to win it at plus 150. Packers are plus 210. The Bears are plus 265. And the Vikings are plus 1,000. I'll tell you this, I wouldn't touch the Bears number with a 10-foot pole right now. The Detroit Lions, Vegas win total 10.5, juice to the over at minus 115. Their 2023 wins are 12. Their Pythagorean wins are 10.16. Their schedule is medium hard. At large games versus Tampa Bay, at Dallas, and versus Buffalo. Schedule last year was medium hard, though. So their key losses: guard Jonah Jackson, safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, wide receiver Josh Reynolds, defensive tackle Benito Jones, safety Will Harris, cornerback Cam Sutton, and guard Helapolata Vaitai. And key additions: defensive tackle DJ Reader, cornerback Amik Robertson, defensive end Marcus Davenport, and guard Kevin Zeitler. And then who they drafted: cornerback Terrion Arnold, one of the top ones from the draft from Bama, cornerback Enos Rackenstraw, and I think it's Rackenstraw, I probably destroyed his name, and tackle Giovanni Manu, safety Sione Vaki. So here's my summary. The Lions were ferocious last year during the strong season in the NFC, or having a strong season in the NFC. We have to think that they're still kicking themselves for that improbable playoff choke. They were up by double digits in the second half versus San Francisco. Instead of taking the 3 points to go make it 17 and 3 scores, they go for it. What the heck are you doing?
Idiot.
The Lions' rush defense took a huge step forward last year. They were so bad the year before. They ranked 4th in rush EPA last year, but their pass defense stayed bad, ranking 25th in pass EPA. So you kind of saw them try to fix this in the offseason with those cornerbacks. The Lions' offense was great for most of the year, ranking 8th in EPA per play. It kind of felt like they were even a little bit better than that, right? But they're around 6 and 8 for rush and pass EPA. I kind of think that the Lions lost what they could afford to lose. They could afford to lose Jonah Jackson and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who wasn't always healthy. Josh Reynolds, I think, was a nice sneaky receiver, but that's replaceable. I thought they had a really good draft with the cornerbacks. There's no big free agent splash, though. I found that interesting. But the truth of the fact is this team is ready to win right now. And I think they should start this season guns a-blazing. My season win total came up to 11.08. I think that's too close to the 10.5 Vegas has on them. And it's juiced to the over at minus 115 slightly. So no value there. But my Detroit Lions power rating is going to start out at 5.25 points above average, which is probably the 4th or 5th best team in the league minimum. So that's where I'm at with the Lions right now. Definitely a Super Bowl contender. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. Vegas win total 10.5, juice to the under minus 155. 2023 wins is 9. Pythagorean wins 9.44. And their schedule looks medium easy. At large games versus Philadelphia. And that's a neutral game, so they actually get that instead of away. They get it neutral. They get it home versus Miami and home versus the Saints. So that really benefits the Packers there. Their schedule last year was easy. So their key losses: running back Aaron Jones went to the Vikings, guard John Runyon, safety Darnell Savage, tackle Yash Nijman, and safety Jonathan Owens. And their key additions is safety Xavier McKinney, running back Josh Jacobs, and kicker Greg Joseph, who they drafted. Tackle Jordan Morgan from Arizona, linebacker Edgerrin Cooper, safety Javon Bullard, running back Marshawn Lloyd, linebacker Tyron Hopper, and a bunch of dudes. They had a lot of draft picks. The Packers were once again saved by coaching as this team went on a tear at the end of the season to make the playoffs. I was frustrated with them because I was on them early. I thought they were better than the market, and I kept losing because of boneheaded mistakes by Love, and all of a sudden when you're off of them, maybe fading them, they start doing what you thought they were going to do. Now, that's a frustrating team, I must say, in these situations. The Packers remain mostly healthy, and their only real injuries were to a few wide receivers and Aaron Jones for a spell. I think coaching could play a huge part in this team's success for 2024, but I'm not buying the hype on this team. I think they're a little bit overhyped, and I think the market sniffs it out with the juiced under at minus 155. You can probably find a bunch of 10s in the marketplace. It seems like a lot of these books like hanging the 0.5, which I get. People don't like to push. But when it's 10.5 juice to the under at minus 155, they're really saying it's 10 at minus 105 to the under, right? Isn't that what they're saying? About 50 cents for each half point. The schedule at least worked out quite well for this team, and their at-large games turned out very nice on either neutral or at home. But here's the thing. I'm still looking at the under. I wouldn't take 10. I want to wait to see if I can get a better 10.5 at some books when some of the hype expands a little bit on this team. My number is really 9.22 wins for the Packers. So I could see them winning 10. I can't see them really winning 11 in this division. I think the Bears have improved a little bit. I'm going to wait. I don't think I'm in a hurry, and maybe it does get worse, but I don't need to have the books hold on to my money if it does get worse. So I'm going to sit here and wait, but I do have the Packers at a pretty solid power rating at 3.5 points better than the average team coming in just from how well they finished the season last year. So we'll see. I'm skeptical on it, but we'll see how this turns out. Number 3, the Chicago Bears. Vegas win total 8.5 juice to the over minus 165. Wow, that's pretty serious. 2023 wins were 7. Pythagorean wins was 7.79. So they actually underachieved a little bit by 0.79 games. Schedule is easy. At-large games versus Carolina, at Washington, and versus New England. How nice is that for the Bears? Schedule last year was actually hard. They were in the hard category last year. Key losses. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney, who couldn't catch a ball when he was laying in the end zone. Edge Yannick Ngakoue, and he's gone for the year. He was hurt for some of the year, though. Defensive tackle Justin Jones, who was great last year. Guard Cody Whitehair, who wasn't so great last year. Safety Eddie Jackson, who was pretty lazy last year. And guard Dan Feeney and running back Deonta Foreman. Key additions, Edge Montez Sweat. Now, they got them halfway through the year last year, so I wanted to mention that, but you still got to kind of look at that as a positive for the Bears. Running back DeAndre Swift, free safety Kevin Byard, who was very good on the Titans a couple years ago, tight end Gerald Everett, safety Jonathan Owens from the Packers, and guard Coleman Shelton. So they got a bunch of dudes back, even DeAndre Swift. Quarterback Caleb Williams. We'll start with the draft here. Number 1 pick overall, would have been the number 1 pick in 2022. Wide receiver Rome Odunze, offensive tackle Kieran Amagagaji, punter Torrey Taylor, the best punter in the draft, probably the safest player to make the teams, and the edge Austin Booker from Kansas. Huge changes for the Bears this season. After all these years, they finally have their best chance at finally having a franchise quarterback with the stolen draft pick, courtesy of the Panthers in Caleb Williams. Now, they added to their arsenal in drafting the second best wide receiver, Rome Odunze from Washington. So, 2 really fine picks. Last year, the Bears team ranked a decent in rush EPA 9th, but you have to factor in and assume that many of those yards were courtesy of Justin Fields and his great legs. What came with those legs was poor throwing ability, ranking 24th in dropback EPA, worse when it comes to total yards and yards per pass and things like that. But Bear fans hope that Williams has some of the scrambling ability they showed at USC, because if you remember, Williams could run the ball too. but he was just that much better of a passer coming out of college. Now, the Bears drafted some dudes that might be able to fill in. The Justin Jones loss could hurt the worst, I guess, compared to everything they lost, because he did a very good job at clogging the middle. But the Bears did upgrade their secondary. They brought in safeties Kevin Byard and Jonathan Owens. So you got to be kind of happy about that as a Bear fan. The cornerbacks were already kind of covered here. But I'm still concerned with this offensive line a bit. And I think they kind of somewhat ignored it a little bit in the draft. If their guys can stay healthy, just like any team, that would put them in a great situation come to the end of the year. But we can't predict health. We can only kind of see what this team did. A little bit lower on the offensive line, and I'm a little concerned about the defense. I know they drafted a couple 3 techniques last year, but I'm not so sure they're any good yet. So I'm still a little bit concerned with that. I'm really happy with how the linebackers showed last year. But my season win total for the Bears is 9.4. It's slightly ahead of where I have the Packers, only because I just believe that they have that much easier of a schedule, just compared to their at-large games anyway. You know, I mean, if you look at Warren Sharp's numbers, he has the Bears at the 4th easiest schedule, and they have the Packers at 19th. Even though the Packers have some great rest advantage, the Bears have some pretty good rest advantages as well. But like I said, I'm still concerned with the offensive line some. My bigger concern is Matt Eberflus. I'm not sure still if he's a good NFL coach. We're going to find out this year a lot. We're going to see how Justin Fields does in Pittsburgh. We're going to see if the addition of Shane Waldron at offensive coordinator moves the needle at all. You know, he did a good job with Geno over in Seattle, right? Geno Smith. And if he can kind of put some of those misdirection plays for Caleb Williams, some of the big receivers can get open for the Bears. This could be a very successful offense just based on that. And I should have mentioned OC Shane Waldron as a key addition as well. So I'm going to be updating that for the article. But either way, lots of questions still with this Bears team. Not 100% sure about Caleb Williams and his mindset yet. So he's a rookie. I just have the Bears power rating at 0. You know, I have them at straight flat because the win total shows that they're supposed to be better than 0. At least from a win total perspective. I guess that also factors in their easier strength schedule. So I think 0 is kind of fair. Maybe -1 is even fair for this Bears team. But I'm going to start it out at 0 and just tread cautiously on the Chicago Bears. Number 4, the Minnesota Vikings. Vegas win total 6.5, juice to the over at -145. 2023 wins was 7. Pythagorean wins was 8.68. So this team underachieved last year. Schedule medium hard at-large games at the New York Giants versus the New York Jets. And unfortunately, that is a neutral game in London. And then versus Atlanta. Schedule last year was medium hard. So unfortunately for the Vikings, their schedule is actually kind of hard. Their key losses, quarterback Kirk Cousins, the obvious one. Edge Daniel Hunter, the best defender. Defensive end DJ Woonem. Inside linebacker Jordan Hicks, defensive end Marcus Davenport, defensive end Dean Lowry, wide receiver KJ Osborne, guard Austin Schlottman, quarterback Joshua Dobbs, who is always a one-hit wonder whenever he goes somewhere, running back Alexander Madison, guard Dalton Reisner, running back Cam Akers is not signed. I'm not sure if Dalton Risner is going to be signed either, and just a bunch of scrubs. Their key additions, defensive end Jonathan Greenard, linebacker Blake Cashman, edge Andrew Van Ginkel, quarterback Sam Darnold, looks like running back Aaron Jones, cornerback Shaquille Griffin, defensive tackle Jerry Tillery, and guard Dan Feeney. I guess Dan Feeney's not that big of a name. Who they drafted, quarterback J.J. McCarthy, edge Dallas Turner, and a bunch of prayers. The Vikings had 13 wins in 2022 with a Pythagorean win total of 8.36. If you remember that, we bet the Vikings under 8.5. Plus money. And this year they had 7 wins with a Pythag of 8.68. So this is kind of fun to see. They had a better Pythag this year with less wins than they did the year before with 13 wins. I mean, that's insane to see. This is why we do our Pythagorean win totals. But the turnover for this team this year is immense from a defensive perspective, especially. The team at least did sign some free agents to cover a lot of this, but they clearly has had a lot of bad injury luck with Kirk Cousins going out, but Justin Jefferson missed some games as well, and he definitely wasn't the same with no decent quarterback. He's not showing up for no OTAs. Even with the good signing of Aaron Jones, this team's going to be thin at running back with Ty Chandler as your second option. The Vikings were very average at defense last year, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can hold up after losing Danielle Hunter and DJ Woonham. The J.J. McCarthy pick wasn't my favorite quarterback of the bunch. I think he was more of a system guy. We'll see. I think he was overdrafted. But there's definitely, we're looking at him to probably take over fast. I don't think Darnold's going to last. I think Darnold, as soon as he messes up, there'll be screams for J.J. McCarthy to fill in. If Justin Jefferson stays, I like their chances a little bit more. But, man, he's disgruntled. He wants a big contract. He's got the 5th-year option to play through. I think the first year might be rough for JJ. 2 big things about the Vikings schedule. For one, they get a huge rest advantage, at least with a net positive plus 12 days rest. But the bad thing is they lose a home game versus the Jets in London. So that's brutal. I think this team can muster up 7 wins this year. So my number is 7.09. I'm not going to bet anything because the Vegas win total is 6.5 juice to the over. But what I will say, look at them on a game-by-game basis, probably fade them nice and early, see how they turn out later in the season. My Vegas power rating is going to be -2 points worse than the average team for the Minnesota Vikings. So there you are. That's kind of my NFC North division preview. Things change, obviously, during the season, or during the summer, I should say. And so now we got most of our information. New things could happen. Trades could happen. Let's see if they lose Justin Jefferson and the Vikings. But right now, the only play that I'm looking at, and I'm probably going to wait to make, is the Packers under the 10.5. So right now, I'm just going to give you as a strong lean under 10.5. If you find it at like -130 or better, probably good to fire on it. I don't think it's going to get that much better than that. So here we are with the NFC North. My friends, thank you so much for listening to this show. If you have any questions for the Oddsbreakers for next week or anything football related, feel free to tweet us at the Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Memorial Weekend, your day off on Monday, and all the games, and go get some winners.